spring of 1964, the Knicks would make Jim Barnes the first pick of the college draft. He was to be their center of the future. In the second round, they would choose another center, whom they hoped to convert to forward. His name was Willis Reed. While Barnes' first season in New York would be his last, Reed would win Rookie of the Year. Veteran guard Dick Barnett had grown unhappy as a Laker reserve. In 1965, he would be traded to the Knicks and flourish as a starter. During that same season, Cassie Russell was completing his career at Michigan. The nation's most coveted collegian, he would join the Knicks a year later, helping them make the playoffs for the first time in 8 years. 1967 would see Walt Frazier journey to the Garden to lead Southern Illinois to the NIT title. 2 months later, the Knicks would make New York his permanent home. As Frazier was becoming a Knick, Bill Bradley was winding up his 2-year Rhodes Scholarship at Oxford. Nationally celebrated in his playing days at Princeton, Bradley, too, would join the Knicks that year, crossing the Atlantic to make his highly publicized NBA debut. With the additions of young guards Bradley and Frazier to a team that had made the playoffs a year before, the Knicks' expectations were the highest they had been in over a decade. But as the 67-68 season began, they found themselves inexplicably struggling, in need of new direction. They would hand the team's reins to their chief scout. And so, a reluctant William Red Holzman became coach of the Knicks.
I didn't want to coach, and I tried to get out of it. But they said, there's nobody else, it's you. You got the job.
Protests notwithstanding, he would bring immediate results.
Red came in, I mean, he was demanding, and he said that there were certain things he was going to put up with, and there were certain things he wasn't going to put up with, and I think guys respected him for that.
Under Holzman's stern guidance, the Knicks began to win with regularity, catching fire down the home stretch. They would qualify for the playoffs for the second straight year. And though they would lose a tough opening round series to Chamberlain's Sixers, the Knicks felt that their fortunes were once again on the rise. Opening their first full season in the new Garden on 33rd Street, the Knicks began the 68-69 campaign with high hopes. But from the outset, it was apparent that something was wrong. Bradley struggled at guard, unable to keep up with quicker opponents. Frazier was also not living up to his potential. Limited to backup duty behind veteran Howard Komives, his play was often erratic. And to add to the Knicks' problems, while Willis Reed played out of position at forward, Walt Bellamy was not getting the job done at center, making it increasingly apparent that in the pivot, 2 was a crowd. But with one bold move, GM Eddie Donovan would change everything. On December 19, 1968, he would send Walt Bellamy and Howard Komives to Detroit. In return, the Knicks received Dave DeBusschere. It was a trade that would prove to be the turning point in franchise history.
It was the move that brought the ingredients together. I mean, he was a strong, rebounding forward who could shoot long, who had a great team attitude, who was a tough defensive player. He did things on the court that I don't see a lot of other players doing.
You're watching